The 16th century BC, around 1589, Peter Binsfeld wrote about the confessions and the records of evildoers and witches. In his writings, he mentions 7 demons. Much like the 7 deadly sins, Peter Binsfeld described these demons as the embodiment of sins. In his writings, these 7 demons seduce humans into corruption and steer people away from the path of God. The 7 deadly sins, however, classifies demons a little differently. Peter Binsfeld was a German auxiliary bishop. Peter was the son of a farmer and craftsman and lived in the city of Binsfeld in the Eifel region. He grew up in the predominantly Catholic environment of the region of Eifel, which shaped his views about supernatural beings, demons, and God. Being a bishop, everyone respected him and his opinions. This was the main reason why his writings of the 7 princes of hell became so famous and spread throughout the world. Let's take a look at who are these 7 demons who rule the realm of hell. The first is Lucifer, that reigns in his malice over the children of pride. Lucifer is the first demon in Peter's writings. He is said to be the demon of pride. Lucifer represents the oldest sin. We learn about it in Isaiah 14:12-14. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest side of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. We can see that Lucifer was the one full of pride, one who wanted to reign over everyone. Peter believed that Lucifer was the first demon and the embodiment of the oldest sin, pride. Many believe that Lucifer is the one who sits on top of the hierarchy of hell, and that he and Satan are the same entity that rules over all demons. But according to Peter, Satan and Lucifer are 2 different entities and represent 2 different sins. Lucifer is known for being the original sin, whereas Satan is considered to be the most powerful one. We have a full video on Lucifer. You can check that out to know the complete story of Lucifer. The second is called Beelzebub, that lords over the envious. The second of the 7 princes of hell is Beelzebub. He is considered to be the prince of gluttony. This is where the first difference in the 7 deadly sins and the 7 princes of hell occurs. The 7 deadly sins regard Beelzebub to be the sin of envy, while Peter describes him to be the prince of gluttony. Beelzebub, often referred to as the Lord of the Flies, is a figure that has appeared in various religious and mythological contexts. Beelzebub's association with gluttony is derived from his name's historical origins. The name Beelzebub is thought to have originated from the Philistine god Baal-zebub. In the Hebrew Bible, particularly in the Old Testament, Book of 2 Kings, Baal-zebub is mentioned as the god of Ekron. In later Christian demonology, the name evolved into Beelzebub and became associated with a high-ranking demon or devil. Due to this historical connection with false gods and demons, Beelzebub was often linked to gluttony, which involves excessive consumption of food, drink, or material pleasures. However, it's important to note that the specific details and interpretation of these concepts can vary across different cultural and religious traditions. Beelzebub's depiction and association have been influenced by a combination of biblical text, folklore, and theological writings over centuries. The third devil is Satan, and wrath is his lordship. In both the seven deadly sins and Peter's writings, Satan is referred to as the embodiment of wrath. Wrath can be defined as uncontrolled feelings of anger, rage, or even hatred. Wrath often reveals itself in the wish to seek vengeance. Although the sins of princes of hell are not written in the Bible, wrath and anger are frequently warned against in the scripture. Psalms 37:8 advises, refrain from anger and forsake from wrath. It leads only to evil. As this is Peter's interpretation, we can assume that he is referring to Satan as the Christian form of Satan from around 16th century onwards. During that time, in many European countries, mainly France and Germany, there was a rise in the number of witches and witchcraft. And because Satan is linked to the art of witchcraft and magic, we can see the connection that Binsfeld creates. The rise of witchcraft made the church fear Satan, as they believed that the increase in the practice of magic was the work of the devil himself. With every new witch, the church believed that Satan grew stronger, and so, to eliminate this threat, the church concentrated their attention to hunt down these witches. Just like Salem witch trials, there was a mass execution of hundreds of people who were believed to be witches. And, as I said earlier, these records and confessions were recorded in the writings of Peter Binsfeld. The fourth is called Abaddon, the sloth be his retinue. But the fourth prince of hell is the fierce Leviathan. It is the prince of envy. In Christianity, the Leviathan is mentioned in the Bible, particularly in the book of Job and book of Psalms. The creature is described as a powerful and fearsome sea serpent or dragon. It's often used metaphorically to represent chaos, evil, or powerful forces that oppose God's order. As a sea monster known to terrify anyone who dares to travel the treacherous seas, why was Leviathan called the Prince of Envy? Why was a sea monster called Prince of Hell? This classification is mainly rooted in the Christian beliefs. An Italian priest, Thomas, described Leviathan as a demon responsible to prey on anyone who is guilty of envy and punish them by swallowing them whole. There were also some writings which described that the gates of hell were through a giant mouth of a terrifying creature. Leviathan being a giant monster and its appearance changing from different writers, from a giant whale to a large squid. It is possible that this influenced Peter Binsfeld to say that Leviathan was the prince of envy, one of the seven princes of hell. The fifth devil is Mammon, and has with him the avarice. Mammon is the fifth demon. He is the embodiment of greed. The name Mammona in Latin means money or wealth. During the war in heaven, Mammon was defeated by Raphael, who was on his way to help Gabriel defeat Belial. After the rebellion, Mammon was banished to hell. There, he found underground precious metals, which he and his demonic companions used to build their capital city, Pandemonium, by Lucifer's orders. Mammon counsels the devil to be happy with what they got and to create a home for themselves in hell. In his appearance, Mammon is somewhat similar to god Plutus, especially when Plutus appears as a wolf-like demon of wealth, wolf being associated with greed in the Middle Ages. In some interpretations, Mammon was not really a demon but another name for dishonest wealth. Later, Mammon was viewed as an actual demon and is also one of the seven princes of hell. Gregory of Nyssa asserted that Mammon was another name for Beelzebub. In the 4th century, Cyprian and Jerome relate Mammon to greed, and greed as an evil master that enslaves, and John even personifies Mammon as greed. The sixth is called Belphegor, that is the god of gluttons. This is another one of the distinctions from the seven deadly sins. Belphegor is known as the sin of gluttony, while in Peter's writings, Belphegor is known as the prince of sloth. In demonology, Belphegor is often portrayed as a demon of temptation, especially one that tempts people to indulge in idleness and procrastination. Belphegor is sometimes depicted as a demon who offers wealth and material pleasures in exchange for leading a life of laziness and sloth. This representation aligns with the concept of the sin of sloth, as individuals who give in to slothful behavior may neglect their obligations and spiritual growth. The association between Belphegor and sloth has been perpetuated in literature, art, and various media, depicting demonic figures and their corresponding sins. Although he is the embodiment of the sin of sloth, he is a master manipulator. He can take many forms. This is so he can manipulate others into doing whatever he wants. He is known to deceive humans into making great inventions that would make them a vast amount of riches. But these riches come at a cost. It makes them lazy, prideful, and procrastinating. It stops their growth and makes them never reach their full potential. In some writings, it is also said that when the human gets those riches, Belphegor snatches it away, leaving them broke and helpless. The seventh devil is Asmodeus, that leads with him the lecherous. In his writings, Peter described Asmodeus as the prince of lust. Same can be seen in the seven deadly sins. Asmodeus is a demon whose name appears in various religious and mythological texts, including some Jewish and Christian traditions, as well as in various works of literature. In demonology, Asmodeus is often depicted as a powerful and seductive demon who tempts individuals to engage in sinful and immoral behavior, particularly related to lust and sexual desire. As the prince of lust, he is believed to exploit and manipulate human desires, leading them down a path of excessive and inappropriate sexual indulgence. In the Book of Tobit, Asmodeus is portrayed as a powerful demon who plagues Sarah, the daughter of Raguel. Asmodeus is said to have killed each of Sarah's previous husbands on their wedding night before they could consummate the marriage. This caused Sarah to be labeled as cursed. Asmodeus is seen symbolically as representing the destructive nature of uncontrollable desires and the negative consequences of lustful behavior. His character serves as a cautionary figure against the temptation of the flesh. So, there you have it, the seven princes of hell who rule over the realm. Tell me in the comments who you think is the most powerful of them all. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and watching some of my other videos.